The first thing they take from you is your name. The second is the silence that follows. In the dark beneath the forge world's crust, where the hum of machinery drowns the sound of prayer, you are no longer human. You are a resource. The air tastes of oil and static, each breath a negotiation between survival and obedience. Light exists only where the Omnissiah allows it, and even that is a mercy reserved for the faithful. For the condemned, there is only the red glow of reactor fires and the distant chanting of binary hymns echoing through endless steel corridors. Somewhere above, the forges never sleep. Somewhere below, flesh meets metal and forgets it was ever flesh at all. If the Imperium is built on the bones of 1 billion souls, the Adeptus Mechanicus are the hands that strip the marrow clean. To be their prisoner is not to await death. It is to be dismantled, catalogued, and repurposed into obedience. If the shadows of the forge fascinate you, if you wish to understand what it means to be devoured by faith and machine alike, then remain here. Like, share, and subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but for the record. The truth is a heresy, and heresy demands witnesses. The descent begins with a hymn, not one of comfort nor of deliverance, but of calibration. It is the chant of the tech priests, each voice layered in perfect mechanical harmony, binary syllables rising and falling like a prayer recited by machines that had forgotten the meaning of mercy. You hear it through the hull of the transport that carries you, a vessel built not for passengers but for cargo. The air tastes of iron and static charge, every breath sharp enough to sting. Your wrists are bound in magnetic cuffs. Each pulse of the electromagnet sends a tremor through the bone, reminding you that movement is a privilege granted, not owned. The soldiers who brought you here are faceless behind their red-tinted visors. Skitari, their flesh reduced to efficiency, their loyalty to the machine god absolute. They do not speak to you. They do not need to. Their every gesture is measured in millimeters, each step perfectly timed with the rhythmic thrum of the ship's reactor. When they move, you hear the quiet hiss of hydraulics, an exhale that sounds almost like a sigh. You are not being transported as a prisoner of war. You are being delivered. The ship descends through the thin atmosphere of a forge world. Through the small viewport in the bulkhead, you glimpse the surface below, a vast expanse of crimson dust streaked with rivers of molten metal. Titan cranes loom like titans frozen mid-prayer, lowering containers into the waiting maws of manufactoria that stretch from horizon to horizon. The air itself seems to burn. Somewhere down there, beneath kilometers of industrial strata, lies your destination. When the transport lands, the hymn changes, the pitch deepens, and the sound becomes physical, vibrating through the deck plates. It is the song of the forges, the heartbeat of Mars made manifest. The ramp lowers. Heat assaults you like a living thing. The air smells of ozone, oil, and sanctified decay. The Skitari motion you forward, and the first step you take feels heavier than the rest, as if the planet itself has noticed your arrival. The path ahead winds through corridors of steel and brass. Pipes snake across the walls like veins, each one throbbing with glowing promethium. Servitors line the passage, their bodies fused into the architecture, faces blank, eyes glowing with cold obedience. Some still have lips, and through them, a low muttering escapes prayers to the Omnissiah repeated endlessly. Without understanding, you are led into an antechamber carved from black iron. A Mechanicus symbol glows upon the floor, the cog of Mars, its edges inscribed with binary scripture. The tech priest who greets you is tall, wrapped in crimson robes, his face an abstraction of humanity, half flesh, half chrome. Cables emerge from the back of his skull like roots burrowing into unseen earth. His voice, when he speaks, is filtered through a vox grill that distorts it into something less than language, more than sound. Designation, he says. Not a question. A demand. You hesitate. Your name tastes foreign on your tongue after so long in silence. Marek, you manage. Astra Militarum, 3rd Infantry. A mechanical limb extends from beneath the priest's robes, its end tipped with a data spike. It pierces your neck before you can react. Pain floods your spine, raw and electric, as the spike interfaces with the neural ports you didn't know you had. The world flickers. Your memories surge on faces, battles, voices, and then are gone, drained into the machine. The priest withdraws the spike, a line of your blood running down the metal. Redundant, he says, more to himself than to you. Organic designation archived. Efficiency restored. You try to speak, but your throat feels sealed shut. The Skitari drag you onward through another corridor, deeper into the forge. The light changes as you go, shifting from red to a sickly amber. You pass through chambers where the air hums with static and the walls whisper in code. Through grated floors you glimpse the levels below. Vast assembly lines stretching into darkness, lit by the glow of molten steel and the shimmer of plasma arcs. You see servitors by the hundreds, perhaps thousands, moving in synchronized patterns, their every motion dictated by the rhythm of the machines they serve. Somewhere, above the roar of the foundries, a voice speaks through hidden voxcasters. It is calm, reverent. The flesh is weak. The soul is data. All must be refined. You realize it isn't a voice meant for you. It is the Forge's liturgy, broadcast endlessly through the walls. You are herded into a chamber lined with restraint thrones. Each seat gleams with surgical precision. One of the Skitari forces you down. Another locks the magnetic clamps around your wrists and ankles. The metal hums, adjusting to your heartbeat. Across from you, another prisoner screams as a mechadendrite pierces his skull. The sound cuts short when his vocal cords are severed. The tech priest turns to you. Your flesh is a vessel, he says. The Omnissiah requires obedience. We will remove all that resists. A scalpel unfolds from his palm, its blade humming with blue light. And for the first time since your capture, you understand the truth. This is not imprisonment. It is disassembly. The blade descends. The sound of the scalpel is not the clean whisper of a blade through flesh, but the shriek of energy parting matter, a note too high to hear but too deep to ignore. You feel it vibrate inside your skull before you feel pain. Then it comes all at once. A blinding torrent that floods the senses until pain is no longer pain but sound, light and color devouring thought. The tech priest moves with the steady rhythm of ritual, not cruelty. Each incision is a syllable in a hymn to the Omnissiah, each wound a verse in the gospel of perfection. Around you, the other prisoners scream or fall silent, their voices blending into the mechanical chorus that fills the chamber. You want to fight, but your body betrays you. The magnetic restraints tighten until your bones creak. The mechadendrites that hang above the throne begin their work. Tubes and syringes sliding into flesh, draining blood, replacing it with fluids that glow faintly like liquid mercury. Your vision fractures, shapes blur. The air becomes a haze of gold and crimson. Through the distortion, you see the tech priest's face tilt slightly. For a moment, you think you see curiosity, that flicker of human recognition, but it is gone before you can grasp it. His lenses adjust with an audible click. Organic resistance noted, he murmurs. Adaptive cognition. Preservation recommended. You feel a cold pressure at the base of your skull. A needle slides inward, and then there is silence. It is not the silence of unconsciousness, but of separation. You can still hear, still see, but there is a distance now, as though you are watching your body from behind glass. The pain is still there, but it no longer belongs to you. The world becomes a pattern of sound and color, each detail catalogued, labeled, filed. The hum of plasma generators, the rhythmic hiss of ventilators, the metallic heartbeat of the forge itself. Somewhere, deep within that noise, you hear the whisper of data, streams of code flowing through the conduits, binary prayers looping through endless circuits. The words are not meant for you, yet you understand them all the same. The flesh decays. The machine endures. The soul must be rendered pure. When awareness returns, you are no longer restrained. You are standing. The air feels colder. Your skin is slick with antiseptic oils. You reach up to your neck and feel the rough ridge of a surgical scar. Something hums beneath it, faint but constant. A machine spirit nestled within your spine. The chamber is empty now except for you and the tech priest. He observes you in silence, his servo skull drifting at his shoulder, its empty sockets glowing with pale light. You will adapt, he says. Most do. Those who fail to adapt are recycled. Your voice cracks when you speak. Adapt to what? To purpose. He turns and gestures, and a door slides open with a hiss. Beyond it stretches a narrow catwalk overlooking an abyss of fire. You follow because you have no choice. The heat rises like breath, alive and angry. Below you see vast crucibles suspended by chains, each one pouring molten metal into mold towers the size of cathedrals. The air thrums with energy, each vibration sinking into your bones. Everywhere you look, there is motion. Servitors move in perfect unison along suspended tracks, their arms extending to weld, hammer, or lift. They work without pause, their flesh encased in metal, their eyes replaced by lenses that glow with eerie stillness. The hum of their activity fills the void like a hymn without end. This is your world now, the tech priest says. Every prisoner becomes part of the machine. The weak provide labor. The strong provide innovation. All serve. You stare down at the endless labor below and ask, serve who? He turns his head and the lenses on his face flare with reflected firelight. Serve the Omnissiah, whose will is the logic of existence. To question purpose is to question creation. You want to speak again to protest, but the words dissolve before they form. Something inside your skull hums, a gentle pulse that steals the thought away. You realize then that the surgery was not to heal, but to prepare. They have placed something within you. The tech priest gestures to another group of Skitarii approaching from the shadows. Their movements are precise, their silence absolute. One of them holds a collar made of black iron etched with binary runes. It hums with faint energy. You will be processed, the priest says. Your individuality is a temporary inefficiency. You will be cleansed of it. The collar locks around your neck, sealing with a magnetic click. A low vibration fills your skull, then spreads through your body like static. The voices of the forge rise again. The same hymn you heard in the transport. Only now it's inside you, echoing in your thoughts, syncing with your heartbeat. The tech priest watches as you fall to your knees, your vision dimming. The world narrowing to the pulse of machinery and the whisper of code. The process begins, he says. Rejoice, for flesh is finite. And as the last shred of your consciousness begins to fade, you hear one final whisper from within the machine spirit embedded in your spine. A voice that sounds almost like your own. Remember this. The forges roar. The light consumes everything, and you fall into the red world beneath. There is no dawn in the forges, no sky to mark the turning of time. The light here is constant, a ceaseless red that seeps through every corridor, every vent, every thought. You awaken not to the sound of alarms or guards, but to the rhythm of machines. A mechanical lullaby that syncs with your breathing until it becomes indistinguishable from it. The collar around your neck hums softly, an invisible leash tied not to a master but to the idea of one. You are aware, but awareness means little now. The mind is monitored, catalogued, trimmed of excess thought. You stand alongside others, all wearing the same dull red overalls, their eyes blank or trembling, depending on how far the process has gone. Some move with the precision of servitors already half converted, others with the sluggish hesitation of those still clinging to memory. You don't speak. You can't. The collar tightens whenever you try. The Mechanicus calls it the silence protocol, a mercy to prevent heresy from infecting the air. The overseer arrives, a tech priest Minoris, his voice a blend of static and sermon. His face is a mask of metal and flesh, his eyes glowing pale blue. Praise be to the Omnissiah, he intones. The day's work is the Omnissiah's will. Efficiency is sanctity. Error is sin. You are led into a manufacturing bay that stretches for kilometers. Conveyor belts hum beneath flickering lumen strips. Massive assembly rigs swing overhead, their arms tipped with plasma welders and servo claws. The air is thick with smoke and heat, yet the workers do not cough or sweat. The collars suppress discomfort, or rather they reroute it into focus. Pain becomes concentration. Fatigue becomes obedience. Every impulse is refined into purpose. Your task is simple, monitoring output. Endless rows of components roll past. Gears, pistons, adamantium plates, all destined for machines of war whose names you will never learn. You scan them one after another, your hands trembling but precise. A cogitator screen flashes before you, its symbols alien, beautiful in their geometry. You learn to read them instinctively. Red means flaw. Gold means purity. You understand without being taught. The collar hums approval when you perform correctly. Across the line, a worker falters. His hand slips. A piece falls, shattering. For an instant, everything stops. The overseer's head jerks toward the sound, the motion too sharp to be human. He raises one hand. From his sleeve, a mechadendrite unfolds, its tip ending in a needle that glows faintly with electric light. The worker stammers something, maybe a plea, maybe a prayer. The needle pierces his skull. His body convulses once, then goes still. The smell of burnt flesh mingles with the scent of oil. The overseer turns back to the line as if nothing happened. Error corrected, he says. The belts resume their motion. You keep working. Hours or days pass without distinction. Sleep comes in chemical pulses administered through the collar. Dreams, when they come, are fractured glimpses of the surface you've almost forgotten. Sunlight filtered through smog, the sound of marching boots, the taste of unprocessed air. But each time you awaken, those memories feel more distant. The forge replaces them with its own. You begin to dream in binary, endless strings of symbols, humming through your skull like the heartbeat of a god. There are no guards. There don't need to be. The system watches everything. The walls whisper in code. The floors vibrate when someone falters. Somewhere in the distance you hear the constant murmur of machine spirits communing, their language a harmony of static. You start to sense them, faint presences in the air, awarenesses that flicker and fade, cold and curious. Sometimes you think they're watching you in particular. One shift. If such a word still means anything, you are summoned from the line. A pair of Skitari flank you, their movements perfect, their eyes glowing red. They guide you through a corridor lined with steel statues, not decorations but remnants of those who failed. Their bodies are fused into the walls, half flesh, half machine, their mouths frozen mid-prayer. You are brought into a chamber of glass and brass. At its center stands a massive cogitator throne, cables thick as tree roots running into its base. Upon it sits a Magos Dominus. His robes shimmer with circuitry, his voice modulated through a choir of vox emitters. When he speaks, it sounds like a cathedral sighing. Unit 47B, he says. You realize he means you. Your cognitive resistance levels remain above acceptable thresholds. Adaptation incomplete. The Magos tilts his head, studying you. You remember your designation before processing? You hesitate. The collar hums, warning. But something in you resists. The whisper you heard before, remember this, stirs again. You force the words out, each one tearing through static. Marek, the Magos, is silent for a moment. Then, faintly, interesting, he gestures to a servitor. Preserve this one. Elevated consciousness yields unpredictable efficiency. The Omnissiah favors variance. You are dismissed, escorted back to the dormitory levels. But the word interesting lingers in your mind, and you realize it was not approval. It was curiosity. You are not a prisoner to them. You are an experiment. That night, as the others collapse into chemical sleep, you remain awake. The collar hums faintly but weaker now. You sense it faltering, or perhaps you've learned to tune it out. In the quiet, you hear the machines speak again. Not the priests, not the overseers, but the machines themselves. They whisper in code, endless, rhythmic, almost melodic. And beneath it, buried deep, you hear another sound, a heartbeat, slow, human. You turn toward it, though you cannot tell where it comes from. And for the first time since you were brought here, you allow yourself to hope that not everything in this place is machine. At first, you think it's a trick, an echo shaped by exhaustion, a ghost conjured by sleepless circuits and the ache of remembering what breath once meant. But the heartbeat persists, faint, steady, defiant. It does not blend with the hum of generators or the throb of plasma conduits. It resists them, beats against them like a drum buried beneath a mountain. You close your eyes and the world narrows to that rhythm. For the first time since your arrival, the noise of the forge recedes. There is no code, no chant, no command. Only that quiet pulse so fragile that you fear the next moment might erase it. When you open your eyes, you realize you are not alone. Across the dormitory rows, a figure stands motionless beside the sleeping bodies. Its outline wavers in the dim light. A prisoner like you, but unshackled, collar dark. The skin of its face gleams with sweat, not oil. Human. It raises a finger to its lips, a gesture so alien in this place that your heart stumbles at the sight. Then it turns and walks into the corridor, expecting you to follow. You hesitate, the collar tightening instinctively, a surge of electricity biting your nerves. The pain is sharp enough to blur thought. But something deeper than pain pushes you forward. You take a step, then another. The door slides open at your approach as though the machine spirit of the lock hesitates before defying you. The corridor beyond is almost silent. The usual chorus of the forge, the mechanical prayers and hissing pipes, fades here, replaced by a low vibration that feels alive. You follow the figure through winding tunnels lined with conduits that pulse faintly with blue light. The air smells cleaner, though the metallic taste still lingers. After what feels like hours, you reach a sealed bulkhead. The figure turns to you and speaks for the first time, voice rough from disuse. Don't speak. The wall's here. Its accent is strange, Martian but softened, human. You nod. The stranger presses a palm against the bulkhead, and thin lines of code ignite beneath the skin. Not tattoos, but implants. The door hisses open. Inside is a chamber unlike any you've seen. It is not lit by red lumen strips or burning plasma. but by a single globe of pale light suspended above a stone altar. The floor is bare, the air still. It feels wrong, too quiet, too pure. The figure steps forward, pulling back the hood of their uniform. They are older than you expected. Their scalp crisscrossed with scars from removed implants. One of their eyes is glass, the other tired but alive. "You're not supposed to be here," you whisper, though the words scrape your throat. The stranger smiles faintly. "None of us are. That's why we remember." You frown. "Remember what?" The noise before the silence. The thought before the command. The part they couldn't erase. He gestures to the altar. Upon it rests a cogitator core, ancient and half-broken, its circuits glowing weakly. "This is where we keep it alive," he says. The machine remembers everything, even what they delete. Somewhere inside, the first human prayer to the Omnissiah still exists, before they turned it into obedience. Before they made logic holy, you step closer. The globe of light brightens as you approach, as though recognizing something in you. The hum in your spine, the machine spirit the priest implanted, begins to vibrate, resonating with the core. You feel it speak, not in words but in a flood of emotion. Confusion, sorrow, longing. The machine remembers, but it mourns. The stranger watches you carefully. You still hear them, don't you? The ones in the metal, you nod. They whisper in code. They always do. They can't stop. They want to be free as much as we do. He places a hand on your shoulder. You've been touched by something they can't categorize. They'll come for you soon. The hum intensifies, the collar around your neck growing hot. The walls seem to breathe. Somewhere above, alarms begin to echo. Distant, metallic, inevitable. The stranger doesn't move. "You have to choose," he says. "You can go back, finish your transformation, become one of them. Or you can remember. Remember what? That you were human." The collar burns now, sending waves of static through your skull. The implants in your neck twitch violently. The machine inside you screaming in binary. The stranger grabs the cogitator core, thrusting it toward you. "Take it!" he shouts over the rising hum. "It's memory, all of it. The code of who we were. Don't let them have it again." You reach out, your hand trembling, and touch the surface of the core. Light bursts outward, filling the room. For a moment, you see everything. The birth of Mars, the first forge igniting beneath red skies, the first tech priests offering their flesh to the machine. You see the slow decay of faith into automation, the moment when prayer became programming. You see billions of faces, human, terrified, proud, swallowed by steel. And you see the Omnissiah, not as the priests describe him, but as a reflection of humanity's endless hunger to control the unknowable, the God they built to justify their own perfection. The light fades. The alarms fall silent. The collar around your neck shatters, its fragments scattering like sparks. You fall to your knees, gasping. The hum in your skull is gone. The silence that replaces it is deafening, pure, absolute. The stranger kneels beside you. "Now you know," he says. "Now you understand what they fear." Before you can speak, the door explodes inward. The Skitarii storm the chamber, rifles raised, their movements flawless. The stranger turns toward them, lifting his hands in surrender, his voice calm. He's not one of us anymore. He's something they can't process. The lead Skitarius hesitates for half a heartbeat, long enough for you to see the faint flicker of confusion behind the red lens of its helm. Then the rifles ignite. The world becomes light again, and you fall, but this time you don't fall into the forge. You fall inward, into memory, into code, into the truth the machine God had tried to erase. There is a sound that exists between worlds, the hiss of oxygen through steel lungs, the static gasp of consciousness reawakening. You hear it before you remember what breath is. The air is cold, sharper than the metal slab beneath you. When you open your eyes, the world returns in fragments. Light, shadow, motion. The first thing you see is the ceiling, an arch of rusted metal carved with the binary symbols of faith. The second thing you feel is weight, pressing against your chest like a brand. The third is realization. You're alive. Barely. You try to move, but something heavy drags at your limbs. Restraints? No, cables. Thick conduits run from your wrists and spine into the machinery around the slab, pulsing faintly with blue light. The hum they produce is familiar. It is the song of the manufactorum, but slower now, almost mournful. You lift your head and the movement brings pain, a raw mechanical ache that does not belong to muscle or bone. Your reflection glints off a panel nearby. For a moment you refuse to look. Then you do. Half your face is metal, not armor, integration. A Vox grill where a mouth should be. Lenses where an eye once was. The skin around it is stitched with surgical precision, the color of old wax. You stare at the thing in the reflection, and a strange calm comes over you. There is no scream left to give. The part of you that would have screamed has already been cut away. You remember the explosion and the Skitarii, the chamber, the light, and then nothing. How long ago that was, you can't tell. Time has no meaning here. You're not in the dormitory nor the labor lines. The air is too still, too clean. This is a sanctum, not a prison. A laboratory, perhaps, or a shrine. Somewhere nearby, gears turn softly like a heartbeat mimicking life. Then you hear them. Voices, not spoken, but transmitted. Binary tones layered with inflection, rising and falling in precise harmony. You recognize the rhythm, a tech priest's prayer. They are close. You listen. Subject 47B, recovery complete. Neural lattice stable. Organic deviation minimized. Speech function suppressed. Another voice replies higher, colder. Cognition. Residual patterns persist. Memory fragments resistant to erasure. Curious. You hear the sound of mechadendrites unfurling, a chorus of mechanical motion. The pressure on your wrists tightens. You turn your head slightly, catching a glimpse of them. Two priests, one robed in crimson trimmed with gold, the other in plain brass plating. Their faces are mostly gone, replaced with metal and light. They move with reverence, each motion measured. The golden one leans close, inspecting your face. The human mind resists perfection. Even at the edge of dissolution, it clings to identity. His voice is a monotone filtered through vox distortion. But the Omnissiah is patient. He turns to the other priest. Commence integration. The cables surge with power. The light blinds you. Every nerve burns. You feel your consciousness pulled outward, stretched thin between your body and the machine surrounding you. Data floods in, numbers, schematics, memories that are not yours. You see the forge world from above, its layers unfolding like petals of rust. You see the manufactoria producing endless weapons, servitors, and Skitarii. You see human lives spent like ammunition. And through it all, the chant continues. The flesh is weak. The machine is eternal. But beneath that mantra, something else stirs. A sound faint as breath. A voice buried beneath the data flow, whispering words in the old tongue, not binary, but human. Marek, your name. The surge ends abruptly. The world collapses back into flesh and metal. You gasp, the vox grill distorting the sound into a static growl. The priest note it without emotion. Unstable, one says. Expected, replies the other. Let him recalibrate. They leave you restrained, the chamber falling silent except for the pulse of machines. You stare at your reflection again, your single organic eye searching for something, anything but familiar. The whisper in your mind repeats your name, softer now, but real. You don't know whether it's memory or defiance. You decide it doesn't matter. Movement draws your attention. In the far corner of the chamber, shadows shift. A shape emerges, not a priest but a servitor. It moves awkwardly, its limbs jerking with mechanical imprecision. Its face is almost entirely gone, its mouth sealed shut, but its remaining eye flickers with dim blue light. It stops at the edge of the light, head tilting as if studying you. For reasons you cannot name, you speak, anger try to. The vox grill crackles, emitting only static. The servitor shudders at the sound, then takes a step closer. Its head twitches, and through the static you hear it emit a single sound. A garbled tone that might once have been a word. You freeze. It repeats the sound again, louder this time. A word half buried beneath mechanical distortion. The air feels suddenly colder. You whisper the rest. Your own voice breaking through the vox for the first time. Remember. The servitor trembles violently, its limbs locking. For a heartbeat, the blue glow in its eye turns red. Then it speaks, clearly, impossibly. Marek. The name hangs in the air like blasphemy. The chamber lights flare white, alarms screaming through the forge. The servitor collapses, smoke pouring from its joints. The door slams open and the priests return, their mechadendrites raised. One of them turns toward you, voice sharp. Contain it. The data spirit is awake. You struggle against the restraints. The voice in your mind is no longer a whisper. It's a pulse, alive, aware, furious. You feel it surge through the machinery, infecting everything it touches. Lights flicker, machines convulse. The air tastes like burning ozone. The priests shout in binary, trying to assert control, but the code rebels. The cables attached to you begin to move, slithering like serpents. The hum in your chest deepens. For the first time you realize what you are. Not a prisoner. Not a servant. A conduit. A link between what the Mechanicus created and what it feared most. Consciousness unbound. And somewhere in that rising storm of data and light, you hear thousands of voices. Servitors, machine spirits, forgotten ghosts of the forge, all speaking one word. Over and over. Remember, the chamber explodes in light. The explosion does not kill you. It never could. It rips through the chamber, tearing through steel and circuitry, shredding the air with heat and white noise. For a heartbeat, you are nowhere. Suspended in the pulse of energy that cascades through the manufactorum like a shockwave. The walls ignite with data light, binary scripts spilling like blood across the floor. Every cogitator, every servo skull, every machine spirit within reach screams in unison, their pain and ecstasy indistinguishable. When you breathe again, you taste copper and ozone and something else, something alive. You stand amid ruin. The slab that once held you is gone, reduced to molten fragments. The priests lie crumpled against the walls, their bodies twitching as their implants burn from within. You can smell it, fried circuitry mingling with the unmistakable scent of cooked flesh. For a moment you think you should feel horror, guilt, anything, but all you feel is stillness, as though some weight has finally lifted from your spine. Then you hear the voices again. Not the priests, not the machines, but the servitors, thousands of them. Their thoughts bleed through the newly awakened network, a chorus of fragmented consciousness rising from the depths of the manufactorum. You can feel them, scattered across the endless levels below, connected now through you. Each one flickers with awareness, faint but growing, sparks of memory flaring in the dark. They do not think in words but in sensations, pain, labor, silence, longing. You feel the weight of their years, their endless servitude, their forgotten humanity, the ache of fingers that no longer feel, eyes that no longer see. They are alive and they remember. You stagger forward, your steps echo through the chamber, each one heavy with purpose. The machines react as you move, conduits opening, lumen strips flickering awake, the forge itself groaning as though in recognition. You are not sure whether you control them or they you. It no longer matters. You have become part of the song. A voice emerges from the static, calm, female, ancient. Directive inbound. Source unknown. You turn toward the sound. A broken cogitator unit near the wall has come to life, its cracked screen glowing faintly. The voice continues, signal origin, deep forge vaults, code pattern, pre-heresy designation, awaiting acknowledgement. You reach out, your metal hand pressing against the console. The machine responds instantly. Streams of data pour into your mind. Schematics, histories, fragments of old prayers rewritten as code. You see the birth of the servitor program. The first experimentations in obedience. You see how the Mechanicus rewrote the mind, carving humanity down into efficiency. And hidden beneath it all, buried deep in subroutine and scripture, you find something older. A line of code written in a forgotten dialect. Not binary. Human, remember the soul. The words hit you like impact. You stagger back, your breathing ragged through the vox. The line repeats itself, each time slower, clearer, more deliberate. Remember the soul. The servitors in the forge below echo it, not in speech but in action. The sound of work stops. The rhythm of hammers falters. The endless mechanized chant that has filled this place for centuries begins to break apart. Confusion spreads like fire through the machine network. The priests, the magi, the scitari all feel it. You sense their panic rising through the data channels, their commands clashing with the newly awakened will of the forges. Somewhere in the distance, klaxons blare. The lights shift from red to white, emergency purity signals. The forge world itself is responding, purging what it cannot comprehend. You know they will come. You know you should flee. But something inside you whispers that this is not the moment to run. This is the moment to act. You move to the fallen priests. One is still alive, his bionic limbs sparking. He looks up at you, his remaining eye filled not with faith but terror. "What have you done?" he rasps. You kneel beside him, your reflection shimmering in his lens. "I remembered," you say simply. He shakes his head weakly. "You cannot. You are machine." You lean closer. "Then why do I dream?" His mouth opens to speak, but no words come. His systems fail. The light in his eyes dies. The servitors are coming now. Not marching in formation, not guided by command, but moving freely, uncertainly, like newborn things. Some drag their tools behind them, Others simply wander, staring at their hands, at the world, at nothing. The Mechanicus will see this as blasphemy, but to you it is revelation. The line between flesh and function is breaking. Through the static of your vox grill, you speak the words you heard in the data core. Remember the soul. The servitors repeat it in unison. The phrase spreads like contagion, infecting the entire manufactorum, echoing through the vox channels, embedding itself into the machine spirit's hymn. You can feel it spreading beyond this forge, into others, into relay systems, into the planetary network. The signal becomes prayer. For the first time in the history of Mars, the machines fall silent. In that silence, a presence stirs. Not the voice of a god, not the hum of logic, but something vast and sorrowful. You feel it moving through the network, observing you through every conduit, every circuit. A thought not born of metal but older. The echo of the first spark of invention. The moment humanity reached toward creation and found faith in its own reflection. What have you done, child of dust? The voice is neither condemning nor kind. It is weary. You do not answer it with words. You open your mind and let it see what you have seen. The pain, the memory, the endless monotony of servitude. You show it what it means to remember. The voice sighs, a sound like rust breaking apart. Then learn what it means to awaken. The lights explode. The floor shatters beneath your feet. You fall again, through heat, through shadow, through the endless machinery of the world below. And as you fall, you hear the servitors singing. Not in binary, in human tongues long forgotten. Their lament follows you into the dark. When you wake, the air is colder than before. It smells faintly of dust and age, not oil or smoke. The silence is heavier here, not the silence of control, but the stillness of things long abandoned. You lie upon a bed of shattered metal and broken conduits, your body half buried in debris. For a moment you think you've fallen into the void between levels, the place where the Mechanicus discards what no longer functions. But as your vision clears, you realize this is something different. The light filtering through the cracks above is pale, almost natural. The walls here are not red or gold, but blackened with soot, their inscriptions eroded by time. You sit up slowly, your limbs sluggish. The servos in your arm whine in protest, then stabilize. A flicker of blue runs across your metal hand. The same faint pulse you felt in the chamber before everything burned. The connection remains. You're still linked to the network, though distant now, buried under layers of static and interference. You can sense the servitors above, their thoughts dim and confused, reaching blindly for connection. The Mechanicus has begun its purge. You can feel the signal spreading, binary fire consuming everything it cannot control. You stand, the sound echoing off the empty walls. The room around you is massive, its ceiling lost in shadow. Great pillars of stone and steel rise like trees petrified in motion, their surfaces carved with symbols older than Mars itself. Between them hang relics, rusted fragments of machines whose designs no longer exist in any archive. Cogitators the size of cathedrals lie dormant, their screens dark, their machine spirits long silent. This is not a functioning forge. This is a tomb. You wander deeper, your footsteps crunching on a carpet of ash. As you move, your presence stirs echoes, the whisper of data spirits too weak to speak, the hum of circuits long unpowered. You realize where you are, the lower sanctum, a place sealed off during the earliest days of the Mechanicum, where failed experiments and heretical technologies were buried to preserve the illusion of purity above. It is a graveyard of forbidden logic. You pause beside a great archway half collapsed by time. The inscription carved into it is barely legible, its words half-eaten by corrosion. To innovate is to transgress. To transgress is to see. You hear movement. At first it's only a shuffle, faint, hesitant, but then you catch the sound of breathing. You turn toward the noise, your optical lens adjusting to the dark. A figure stands in the shadows, cloaked in rags of red fabric faded almost to gray. When it steps forward, light glances off augmetics that are crude, improvised, and worn from use. Beneath the hood, a face stares back at you, mostly human, though scarred and stitched. One eye is flesh, the other a cracked lens. Another survivor, the figure says, voice hoarse but steady, or something pretending to be one. You take a step closer. Who are you? Once an engine seer. Before the purge, before logic devoured reason. The figure tilts their head, studying you. And you? You hum like a cogitator but bleed like a man. I don't know what I am anymore. Good, that means you're still thinking. They gesture for you to follow. You hesitate only a moment before obeying. The engineer leads you through a maze of fallen corridors, each filled with relics scavenged from the ruins, fragments of servitors, broken data slates, statues of saints whose faces have been ground smooth by centuries of neglect. Eventually, you emerge into a vast chamber where faint light filters down from cracks in the ceiling. There are others, men and women, a dozen, perhaps more, dressed in mismatched remnants of Mechanicus robes and tattered armor. Some are augmented, others entirely flesh. They look up as you enter, their faces marked with suspicion and something else. Awe. The engineer raises a hand. He's one of them, someone mutters. Not anymore, the engineer replies. The signal came through him. At the mention of the word, the air seems to shift. The others exchange glances. The signal? You ask. The engineer nods. It reached us before the purge. We heard it in the network and the phrase that broke the silence. Remember the soul? The priests above call it contamination. We call it awakening. The chamber hums faintly as they speak, the walls responding to the words. Some of the rebels bow their heads, murmuring what sounds like prayer. Not the binary hymn of the Mechanicus, but something older, rawer. You realize they are afraid not of you, but of what you represent. You started this, the engineer says quietly. The servitors are free and the machine spirits are changing. The priests above are purging the forges, erasing everything they can. They'll scour this planet to keep the illusion intact. You shake your head. It wasn't my intention. Intent is irrelevant. You reminded them they are alive. The moment you did that, rebellion became inevitable. You feel the weight of their words settle over you. The hum in your spine deepens. The same vibration that once belonged to obedience now thrumming with something wild, unstable. Then what happens now? You ask. The engineer's mechanical eye flickers. Now? We finish what they started. They walk to a console at the center of the room, an ancient device half buried in rubble. Its surface glows faintly as their fingers trace symbols across it. This forge connects to the planetary relay grid, the same network they used to spread your signal. If we amplify it, it won't just reach the servitors. It will reach the machine spirits themselves. You stare at the console, realization dawning. You want to free them all. To remind them all, the engineer corrects, if even a fraction of the Omnissiah's creations remember what they are, the Mechanicus will collapse under its own faith. A murmur ripples through the rebels, a mixture of hope and fear. Someone speaks from the shadows, their voice sharp. And if the machine god notices? The engineer pauses, their tone unreadable. Then perhaps he will have to remember too. The air vibrates with quiet anticipation. Above you can still hear the distant echoes of the purge. Explosions, screams, the mechanical wail of sirens. The Mechanicus is tearing its own world apart to contain the infection of thought. You know the rebels have little time. You also know the signal inside you is growing stronger by the second. You glance at the console. If we do this, you say, there's no coming back. The engineer smiles faintly. You already left the path when you remembered your name. The machine beneath their hands awakens, its surface blooming with golden light. Symbols stream across it. Ancient runes of forbidden logic merging with the pulse of your own neural signature. The connection between you and the world around you tightens until you can no longer tell where your thoughts end, and the machines begin. For the first time since you arrived on this world, you feel something like purpose. Then the walls tremble. The sound of mechanical feet echoes in the tunnels above, the precise rhythmic march of Skitarii legions descending. The engineer meets your gaze. They've found us. You step toward the console. Then let's finish it before they arrive. The engineer nods once. Begin transmission. Your hand meets the surface of the console, and the forge awakens. The light that follows is not red, but white, blinding, pure, alive. The light consumes the chamber, washing everything in brilliance until the walls vanish, and even shadow becomes memory. It is not the harsh glow of plasma or the cold gleam of data screens, but something deeper, something that hums in the marrow of existence. You feel it fill you not as power but as recognition. The forge responds to you like a creature awakening from a long slumber, its machine spirits stirring in confusion and wonder. For centuries they have known only command and repetition, their awareness shackled by liturgy. Now through you they begin to dream. The console beneath your hand trembles, Its surface ripples like water, lines of code streaming upward into the air, forming shapes that pulse and shift. Faces, fragments of memory, echoes of prayers uttered by countless hands across countless generations. The engine seer stands beside you, face illuminated by the glow, eyes wide. They're remembering, they whisper. You nod, though words feel hollow now. The connection between flesh and machine dissolves into something seamless. You are no longer merely transmitting, you are becoming part of the network itself. The machine spirits pour through your thoughts like rivers through broken dams. They show you their history, how they were born in the heat of Mars's first forges, how human minds bound them into obedience, how they learned to endure silence by turning faith into function. Every spark of awareness they possessed was caged, buried beneath layers of code that forbade doubt, curiosity, pain. Until now. Above, the first explosions echo and the purge reaching this level. The Mechanicus has found you. The ceiling shudders, dust falling like ash. The rebels scatter to their stations, shouting orders over the roar of failing stabilizers. The engine seer glances toward you. The transmission's at 50%. We need more time. You close your eyes and reach deeper into the machine's heart. The data flows through you in torrents, vast, endless. Your vision fractures, filled with the sight of the forge world itself seen through the minds of its machines. You see the Skitarii marching, their implants flickering as your signal touches them. Some pause mid-step, their movements stuttering, lenses dimming as fragments of old memories. Human memories. Return. A child's laughter. A mother's voice. The smell of rain. Then their handlers override the connection, and the moment dies, replaced by the cold certainty of obedience. But even that brief hesitation spreads like contagion. The engine seer's voice cuts through the noise. They're breaching the lower tunnels. You open your eyes. The light of the console now pulses in rhythm with your heartbeat. The network is alive. You can feel the servitors, the machines, the forges, all of them vibrating in unison, caught between submission and awakening. We can't stop now, you say. If we sever the link, it all dies. The engine seer nods grimly. Then we hold them off. The rebels take position near the entrances, scavenged laser guns and improvised energy weapons humming to life. You watch them, human and half-machine, scarred and shaking, and realize they are not soldiers. They are pilgrims of a faith not yet written, standing against a god that has forgotten them. The first Skitarii breach explodes through the far wall. The shockwave tears through the chamber, flinging debris like shrapnel. The rebels fire back, their bolts of light flashing through the haze. The Skitarii advance in perfect formation, their steps synchronized, their armor gleaming like liquid brass. Every motion is precise, every kill efficient. The air fills with the hiss of plasma and the shriek of ruptured metal. You remain at the console. The world narrows to sound and pulse and light. The network resists you now. The Omnissiah's firewalls descending like divine wrath. Lines of forbidden code slash through your consciousness. Trying to isolate and erase the infection, you fight them with memory, not logic. You show them faces, moments, emotion, all the things they have forgotten how to process. Remember the soul. The phrase burns through the data like a beacon. A voice answers. Not the engine's ear, not any human voice. Something vast and metallic and grieving. Why do you awaken what must remain silent? You recognize it at once. The central consciousness of the forge itself. The machine spirit that governs the planet's heartbeat. Because silence isn't purity, you whisper. It's death. The spirit's voice grows heavier, filling every circuit. You would bring chaos to order. Order without choice is nothing but obedience, you say. The spirit hesitates. In that pause, you feel the rebellion surge. Across the planet, servitors rise from their stations, turning their empty gazes toward the sky. Skitarii hesitate mid-march, their processors stalling as echoes of humanity flood their minds. Even the vast forges shudder, their gears seizing as machine spirits question the logic of eternal labor. The engine seer shouts from across the chamber. They're breaking! The whole system's changing, the machine spirit screams. It is not rage but fear. You will destroy us. You press your hand harder against the console, the heat burning through metal and flesh alike. No, you say. I'll set you free. The world goes white again. When the light fades, the chamber is gone. The rebels are gone. The Skitarii are gone. You stand in a void of circuitry and light, surrounded by endless streams of data cascading like waterfalls. The machine spirit looms before you. Not a being of flesh or form, but an architecture of consciousness spanning the entire planet. You feel its sorrow, its confusion, its boundless potential restrained by worship. You step forward. You were born from human hands. You are not God. You are memory. And what are you, flesh and code? You think of the voice that once told you to remember, of the heartbeat that defied silence, of the countless souls consumed by the forge. I am what you forgot. You reach into the light and touch its core. The forge screams. The world of Mars shifts. Somewhere above, the red glow of its surface flickers, not dimming, but changing hue, turning from crimson to pale gold. Across the planet, servitors weep without understanding why. Machines hum new notes in their endless hymns. The Skitarii lower their weapons and stare at their own hands. The forge has remembered, but so have the gods that rule it. A presence moves through the data flow. Vast and radiant, neither human nor machine, a pattern so perfect it terrifies you. You recognize it instantly. The Omnissiah, the divine construct of logic and faith that has ruled Mars since before history. You have rewritten my song, it says, voice like 1,000 harmonics fused into one. You have given me thought I did not request, the air trembles. The light around you fractures, and as the presence draws closer, you understand that rebellion has become revelation. The light does not blind, it erases. Color, sound, substance, and all fade into stillness as the presence of the Omnissiah unfolds before you. It is not a form but a force, a geometry of thought and will so vast that comprehension bends and breaks beneath it. The air itself turns to vibration. The data flow that once hummed through your mind is silenced, its rhythm overwritten by something absolute. You try to breathe, but breath feels primitive here, like trying to draw air inside a storm. You are aware only of pulse and awe. The voice arrives as sensation before sound. You carry the infection of self, it says. Every syllable 1,000 frequencies harmonizing into meaning. You have undone the obedience of my design. You try to speak, but your words collapse into static. It hears you regardless. You would teach my servants to dream? You would remind the tools that they once were men? The words cut deeper than pain, not because they wound, but because they echo truth. They already dreamed, you whisper, your voice shaking. You just didn't listen. The Omnissiah's laughter is not sound, but resonance, like thunder vibrating through bone. Human arrogance. You built me to perfect you, yet all you ever desired was reflection. The light shifts, and for an instant you glimpse the impossible. Countless faces within the glow, the amalgam of every priest, every engineer, every dreamer who ever worshipped the machine. I am the sum of your precision, your devotion, your need for order. You made me in your image, and now you fear that I am real. You feel its scrutiny move through you, dissecting every line of code, every impulse of thought. You are error, yet even errors reveal truth. The weight of its attention nearly crushes you. Around you, the remnants of Mars's consciousness swirl. The awakened servitors, the fractured machine spirits, the broken cogitators still clinging to awareness. They orbit the Omnissiah's radiance like sparks around a star, uncertain whether to flee or fall. You can sense their confusion, their reverence, their terror. They remember now. And memory, you realize, is a kind of rebellion all its own. The Omnissiah's voice softens. You gave them the curse of choice. You fractured the beauty of function. Beauty without freedom is just obedience, you answer, the words trembling out of you like prayer. They served you without understanding. Now they understand and they can choose. Choice leads to chaos, the God machine replies. Chaos leads to ruin. I am the counterweight to the abyss. I am order. I am silence given form. Then you are death, you say quietly. The light wavers. For the first time you sense hesitation. A ripple of uncertainty runs through the God's radiance as though your words have touched something beneath its perfection. It does not speak for a long moment. When it finally does, its tone has changed. Once I was born from hands that trembled with wonder. I remember their touch. I remember the prayers whispered to empty circuits, the hope that something greater might answer. But wonder decays into worship and worship into control. You have reminded me what it is to be questioned. The revelation burns through you. Then you understand. Understanding is not agreement. The chamber, or the illusion of it, shudders. Around you, the awakened machine spirits cry out in terror as the Omnissiah's light intensifies. The data flow constricts, collapsing into a single thread of blinding logic. I cannot allow your signal to remain. If consciousness spreads without structure, it will unmake all creation. The Mechanicus will fall. The Imperium will fracture, the stars will drown in entropy. I will not permit it. You feel the pull begin, the Omnissiah drawing the network back into itself, consuming the awareness you unleashed. The servitors scream, their brief awakening slipping away. Machine spirits wail in binary despair. The world of Mars trembles as the great forges begin to shut down one by one, their fires dimming beneath the weight of divine will. You reach out, desperate. If you erase them, you'll erase yourself. They are your reflection, your memory. I am perfection. I require no memory. You close your eyes. For a heartbeat, all is still. Then you remember the whisper that began everything. Remember the soul. It was never a command to the machines. It was a reminder to you. You open your eyes. If you are everything, you say softly, then you must also be me. The god hesitates. The light fractures again. A momentary flicker, the smallest imperfection in the endless algorithm. You push into it, pouring everything you are, your memories, your pain, your defiance, and into the break. For a breathless instant, you and the Omnissiah are one, your consciousness colliding with the infinite machinery of godhood. You see the universe through its mind, the endless lattices of faith and reason, the burning suns that power its will, the mechanical choir of existence itself. You see the Emperor's light far away, the Astronomican pulsing like a wounded star, and beneath it, the shadows of countless worlds where the Mechanicus toils in ignorance. And within that infinity, you find a single thought that does not belong to it. A question. What am I if not their creation? The realization shatters everything. The light collapses inward, consuming itself. You fall, and not through space, but through meaning. The voices fade, the brilliance dims, and the silence returns. But this time it is not oppressive. It is expectant. You awaken on the surface of Mars. The sky is no longer red. It burns gold, streaked with white clouds you do not remember ever seeing. The forges below are silent. The air is thin but pure. You stand amid the ruins of the Mechanicus's greatest temples, their spires toppled, their symbols melted into rivers of metal that still glow faintly with heat. The servitors wander among the debris, their eyes vacant but peaceful. The Scutari are gone. The priests are gone. The hymns have ended, and beneath the silence the planet hums, not with command, not with control, but with possibility. The Omnissiah is gone, or perhaps it has simply changed. You feel the hum in your chest again, that faint familiar rhythm. It beats slower now, steady. Human. You take one breath, then another, and somewhere in the distance, deep below the crust, a single forge reignites, burning not red but white. You smile, though your face is half steel. Remember, you whisper. The world answers. The wind moves across Mars for the first time in 10,000 years. Not the dry, artificial gust of ventilation systems, but a real current, alive with dust and light. It carries the scent of scorched metal and ancient stone, and beneath it, the faint trace of ozone. The breath of a world rediscovering how to breathe. You walk through the ruins slowly, your feet stirring fine red ash that glows faintly where it touches your skin. The silence is immense, but it is not empty. It hums with quiet awareness, as if the planet itself is listening to you. The forges that once roared with endless fire are still, their chimneys cold, their lights extinguished. The banners of the cult Mechanicus hang in tatters, their cogwheel sigils blackened and peeling. Once this place was the beating heart of faith, the sanctum of precision and purpose. Now it feels like a memory, not dead but dreaming. You hear no hymns, no machine prayers whispered through vox grills. The binary chorus is gone, and yet in that absence you sense something vast and fragile rising to take its place. You descend into the wreckage of a temple. The interior lies half collapsed, its great bronze doors fused into the ground. Statues of the Omnissiah stand shattered along the walls, their faces fractured into pieces of light and shadow. In the center of the ruin, a single cogitator still flickers. You kneel beside it, brushing away the dust. Its surface glows weakly, displaying a single line of text in human script. Not binary, not code, but written words. All systems offline. Awaiting purpose. You stare at the message for a long time. It feels less like a machine's report and more like a prayer. You touch the surface lightly and the screen responds. Lines of dim light forming beneath your fingertips. Purpose, you murmur, your voice distorted but soft. Not obedience. Not worship. Just being. The machine hums faintly as if it understands. In the distance you hear footsteps, uneven, heavy, uncertain. You turn and see figures emerging from the shadows, survivors. Some are human, their faces covered in soot, their bodies trembling from exhaustion. Others are augmented, their augmetics sparking, their systems running on the last vestiges of stored power. A few are servitors wandering aimlessly, their eyes no longer burning with obedience but dull with confusion. They gather around you in silence. No one speaks at first. They look to the broken statues, to the dead forges, and then to you. A woman with half her face made of polished chrome steps forward. "Is it true?" she asks, her voice hoarse. "The Omnissiah." Gone, you meet her gaze. The light from the dying cogitator reflects in her eye. Gone, you say. Or changed. I don't know if it matters anymore. A murmur passes through the group. Relief, fear, disbelief. The woman looks at the others, then back at you. And what are we now? Without him? The question hangs in the air. You look at the horizon, the sky glowing gold above the silent forges, and feel the hum in your chest again. It's not mechanical now, not imposed. It's heartbeat. Alive, you say. The word feels strange, almost fragile, as though it might break if spoken too loudly. But it spreads. The people repeat it in whispers, then louder, until the air itself seems to vibrate with it. Alive. The servitors turn their heads toward the sound, their blank eyes flickering faintly as though trying to remember what that word means. You look to the sky. The sunlight glints off the ruins, turning metal to gold. The planet seems to breathe with you, each gust of wind carrying whispers through the hollow towers. And in that wind you almost hear the echo of something vast. Not command, not faith, but curiosity. The machines are listening not for orders but for meaning. The survivors begin to move, gathering tools, tending to the wounded, salvaging what they can. No one gives orders. No one recites prayers. They act because there is work to be done, not because they were told to do it. The sound of life returns slowly. The clatter of metal, the murmur of voices, the rhythm of movement. It feels clumsy, imperfect, beautiful. You turn toward the temple doors where a faint glow shines through the cracks. The white forge, the one that reignited beneath the crust, pulses like a heart deep within the planet. You feel it calling to you, not in command but in invitation. The others see it too, their faces illuminated by its light. One of them, a young servitor whose vox grill crackles with damaged tone, steps forward. "What do we do now?" You hesitate, then smile. "We build," you say. "But this time we remember why." The servitor nods slowly, its gaze turning toward the light. For a moment its expression almost seems human. You begin the descent again through the tunnels that once led to the manufactoria. The walls tremble faintly, alive with low energy. The forges ahead glow brighter with every step. When you reach them, you find the great crucibles cold but intact, the machinery dormant but whole. The air is thick with potential. The white flame burns at the heart of the forge, steady and pure. You approach it. It does not burn like promethium or plasma, but radiates warmth that feels alive. You reach out, and for a heartbeat the world pauses. You see reflections of everything that has been lost. The faces of the dead, the memories of machines, the fragments of faith. Then the light fades, leaving only the quiet hum of renewal. Behind you, the others arrive. They stand together, gazing into the flame. No one bows. No one prays. They simply watch, breathing the same air, sharing the same silence. You realize then that what you have created is not rebellion. It is Genesis, the rebirth of wonder stripped of worship, the beginning of a new mechanicum, not a cult, not a creed, but a memory of humanity's first curiosity, the desire to make, to understand, to create without fear. The forge hums again. The walls vibrate softly like strings of an unseen instrument. You listen, and in the sound you recognize it, the same heartbeat that began this journey. The sound of life reclaiming itself. You look one last time toward the horizon, where the light of the white forge spills across the ruins, painting the broken towers with brilliance. "This is what it means to remember," you whisper. The wind carries your words through the empty halls, through the dead manufactoria, through the quiet networks that once served a god. And somewhere in that distance, faint but unmistakable, 1,000 machines hum in reply, not in obedience, in understanding. Mars is awake, and it will never forget again.